I graduated from South High School in 1953, and that's when I went to Wheaton College. During the 2 years at Wheaton, I really developed my way of thinking, and I did discover who I was and what I had to do. At Wheaton, I took a course in civilization, history of civilization, and I remember the name of the professor, Professor Cairns, and he based the whole history of civilization on the development of architecture through the ages. And for the first time, I saw architecture as an art form and a very important historic form. And I started getting interested in architecture. My father was a building contractor, so I had been around architects and around construction all my life. But I was trying not to be an architect because I knew that everybody around me wanted me to be. But I couldn't help myself. And then the other course I took at Wheaton College was an art appreciation course. And that course taught me about art in general and also wove architecture into art appreciation. And so I decided by the second year that I wanted to go to the School of Architecture at the University of Michigan. Of course, my parents were very happy about this and were very willing to pay for my education. And so I went to Ann Arbor, and I remember my parents drove me to Ann Arbor, and it was a big day, huge school, very intimidating, but I was up for the job and moved into the dorm and had a very good roommate, very nice roommate, and I was there for 5 years, and I loved it. Ann Arbor is a beautiful place. While I was at Michigan, Walter Chambers and Charlie Cares and Bill Johnson arrived from Harvard. And that was really something because the landscape program had been very, very meager and really was nothing up until that point. But once they arrived, they put together a really great program. And we as architecture students started to take notice, and I especially started to take notice. And when I decided in my fourth year that I would like to be an urban designer, my professors, Professor Sherman and Professor Sanders, said, "Oh, you should study landscape architecture. That's a way to get a handle on urban design." And so I applied to do my graduate work after graduating with my degree in architecture, in landscape architecture, and I took some courses in my last year of landscape architecture at the same time. And I studied with Bill Johnson, who was a wonderful man, and he's not that much older than I am, but he became a very important mentor to me. And of course his drawing technique is fabulous. And I loved his class, and I loved learning how to draw as he drew the landscape. It was very good. And Walt Chambers was teaching more technical courses. He was very funny, very droll and humorous. And Chuck Cares was the plants professor. And we studied sort of the necessary plants, nothing special. But we identified trees and so on. And one thing I remember and we thought was very funny, he was always pointing out cherry-like bark. The way to identify a cherry tree is cherry-like bark. And it became a kind of joke among the students. And I remember to this day, oddly enough. And as I lectured at Michigan several times in the last 30 years, Chuck Cares was always in the audience. And that was really, really a very nice tribute. I loved seeing him and remembering his classes and his dedication to his students.